Here we go.
Hi, Ed. Thanks for joining me, friend.
Thanks for having me. I always mispronounce your name. Give it to me one more time.
Tasshin.
Tasshin. Oh, that's fine. I got it right.
Yeah.
Tasshin.
Yeah. Well, I also don't really care how people pronounce it. Uh,
Great.
um, well, for some context for those people that don't know you, I went to a class of yours in Manhattan recently. It was a clown class. It was about 3.5 hours. My friend Elle, who goes to your classes regularly, brought me, and I
Very
really
kind.
loved it. And um, I learned a lot. And then I've also learned a lot from just exploring these things with Elle in our friendship. And I've really seen her grow tremendously through clowning. And
Yeah, me too.
uh, all of
Yeah.
that has me very interested in you and clowning, and I want to learn more. I'm also very grateful because Elle has sort of commissioned or sponsored this episode. We both wanted it to happen and
Oh
made
my
it possible
God.
for both of us. So,
Absolutely. Shout out to Elle as well for that. That was really kind of Elle.
mhm.
Yeah. My God, Elle's a legend. Everybody listening, Elle is, and hopefully, I don't know, like, uh, what Elle wants to do with her life. I guess
Mhm.
I always fuck up the pronouns, but I'm allowed to curse, right? Am I? Yes, I
Yeah,
just did.
definitely.
Uh, I'll just say that Elle is an incredibly talented performer. Like I don't know if Elle wants to do it professionally or whatever, but like I know Elle has a lot going on as well in her life, but
Hmm.
incredible performer. Yes. God
Absolutely.
bless. Very sensitive,
Hmm.
which is not to preempt any questions, but sensitivity is really the key word when it comes to clowning, and I would argue any kind of performance really. But
Hmm.
yeah, um,
Well, I'd
yeah,
love to dive into that, but let's start with you. And in particular, when I'm curious about someone or a topic, it really helps me to know the person and to know where they're coming from and know their story. So I'd love to hear from you about your story and your background and your own words, where you've been, what's happened so far in your life, anything you'd like to share, I'd love to hear.
totally. So I was born in Cork City in the south of Ireland in January 2nd, 1981, which means I will be 45 next week, which is hilarious because I mentally feel 12, uh, feel very childlike. Actually, I was just recently, not to digress immediately, but the wonderful filmmaker Paul Thomas Anderson apparently recently said that he still feels mentally 27, and I guess he's in his 50s now or something. But like, um, I find that very interesting. Maybe that's an artistic thing. I mean, I feel a lot younger than 27, but I kind of got what he meant. Anyway, yeah. So Cork is like the second biggest city in the Republic of Ireland in Southern Ireland, um, and Cork is we really love ourselves in Cork. We have a lot of self belief. We call ourselves the Rebel County because, and I believe we got the name the Rebel County because we were the last people to kind of like stand up to the British when they were ruling us or something. I don't know the ins and outs of that. I kind of turned my back on Irish history. Shame on me. But yeah, so Cork and Dublin are the two biggest cities, but we have this kind of friendly rivalry with Dublin people, even though we love them, I think, deep down. Anyway, that's where I was born and raised, and I was a very, very, very shy child. Uh, wow, got the impulse to flash you. I don't know if this is necessary, but I was born with a thing called pectus excavatum, which means I have a sunken chest. It's actually quite a common thing amongst
I've got
men.
one too, actually.
Are you serious,
I'm
Tashin?
completely serious.
That is fucking amazing. Well, yours is not that visible, but like maybe you worked out a lot. Good for you. But no, women don't get it as much as men. But I had an operation where when I was a child to kind of enhance it, and they did an okay job, I guess. God bless them, but they only could bring it out so far. They apparently told my mother that we can only bring it out so far because obviously he'd have a heart attack if we tried to expand it too much, and he would be dead, which is hilarious. Gladly, luckily, I didn't die, but I still have this scar from the operation, and they put a metal bar in my chest when I was young after the operation, which was really funny, only for a short period of time. But like the kids at school were like got a great kick out of it because I was like some kind of robot or alien or some kind of like funny guy with a metal bar in his chest. So that I suppose psychologically, may have did something unconsciously because I was very shy as a child. And like I also have like flared ribs and I have scoliosis. So like I guess I had various physical deformities, always very skinny. Yeah, and I was a shy child for most of my childhood in Cork. I mean, I like to play soccer a bit, but like, and I was very lucky that a lot of like good friends of mine kind of protected me from the bullies because I was bullied um as a child a lot. So like, if you had said to me when I was a child that I'd end up being the kind of person I am now, I'd have been like, wow, you're crazy, you know? Uh, so I decided when I was 19 that I wanted to try to be an actor, and I took an improv class. And that's when my kind of life changed because somebody told me I was good. Because if people told me I was bad, I would have probably just said, fair enough, I'm bad. I'll never do this again. But the fact that someone had an encouraging word and saw some talent made me think about it. And of course, it's the usual cliched stuff of freaking out my parents by how serious I became about it. Um, Yada, yada, yada. Also, at that time, should not neglect to say this. My name's Ed, and I'm an alcoholic. I was drinking very heavily, and um, it's great actually. I stopped drinking at age 25 just to kind of jump around a bit, but like I drank very heavily for 7 or 8 years, and it was really silly that I did that. But I guess it gave me some self belief or whatever. So anyway, I as a performer, I started doing kind of local plays in amateur plays, some kind of semi-professional plays. But I was a bit kind of what's the word, impatient with like the Irish or more specifically Cork theatre scene, I guess. And my dad, God rest his soul, was very sick at the time, dying of cancer, and he eventually did die when I was 23. But I ended up writing my first one man show, which was called The Self Obsessed Tragedy of Ed Malone, um, which you can watch on YouTube actually, because there's a recording of it that I mean, I did it in a lot of theaters in Ireland, but there was a performance I did in my local pub that was filmed, and it's on YouTube. It's really fun piece about me and my unrequited loves, my bisexuality, my failures in romance, but it also it was about my relationship with my dad and how he was treated in his workplace, which kind of rooted the play. He was kind of treated like shit in his job, basically, and that made me very angry. And my dad, God bless him, like hated what he did for a living. He was a security guard, and I found out later in life that he wanted to be an actor when he was younger, and he didn't pursue it because his parents kind of stopped him, which kind of really moved me, obviously. So a lot of that play, even though it's a very funny play, it has some dark stuff that's very real and powerful regarding my relationship with my dad. Um, so that became kind of a hit in Cork and in other parts of Ireland, and I did it in England too, and I even did it in America when I first moved here for a little bit. But that play was very physical, and the director was a genius. I'm leading up to the clowning thing here. The guy who directed that play was like this wonderful visionary guy, and he's still a very good friend of mine. Um, and on the alcoholism thing, I have to tell you this. Your listeners are going to love this. This is a true story. He said one of the most iconic things ever to me. After a performance of the one man show, one of the performances, we were both getting drunk in a bar, and suddenly his mood shifted. And he looked, and he's a very dear friend. He looked me in the face and he said, "Are you an artist or an alcoholic? You're not good enough to be both." And I was like, "Whoa!" That line just spoke really, went straight to my heart. And I got sober the next day, actually. I decided to get sober the next day after that comment. So it was really a life changing moment. But that performance was really physical. It wasn't just like a one man show. I'm just standing there telling a story. It was a very physical piece of theater where I'm playing lots of different characters, playing my parents, playing my sister, playing all the girls and guys who rejected me or whatever. Um, and some people who saw that suggested, oh, you know, maybe you should train in Paris because they do got great physical theater schools in Paris. And I was thinking about leaving Ireland, maybe going to London to more traditional acting training. But thing about Paris interested me. So I went off to Paris to this very famous physical theater school called the Jacques Lecoq Theater School, um, which basically is clowning with very physical kind of theater stuff. And I really enjoyed my year there. And at the end of the year, I wanted to do a second year there, but they told me that I should just leave and go work in the world. And I disagreed with them. I wanted more training, but they didn't want me to do the second year with them. So then my life changed completely because one of the teachers said, if you really want to train more, you should go work with a guy called Philippe Gollier. So I went and met this guy who I didn't know at the time, how famous this man was. He trained Sacha Baron Cohen and he trained a lot of famous people. And I met him and I just thought he was such an interesting guy. And then I took his class and it changed my life because the way he taught clowning and performance was like he made it up as he went along, but he was like a Yoda, like a real guru who just saw into your soul. And his school was less about the technical aspects of clowning and more about you being a beautiful, stupid idiot on stage and tapping into that and encouraging us to be like children again and to be silly and playful. And um, that really changed my life completely because I never at that time and for several years after it, I never wanted to be a teacher. But I moved to New York after I graduated from that school. I moved to New York in 2007 and I've been here ever since. But it was around 2015 that a wonderful ex girlfriend of mine casually suggested that I should teach. And I was like, oh, I don't know. And I said, okay, I'll try it. And I did it for a few friends and the word of mouth spread. And people were like, oh, you're really good at this. And I kind of, a lot of the inspiration for my teaching style came from that guy, Philippe Gollier. But obviously, I've got my own slant in it. But basically, like, yeah, I didn't really want to be a teacher, but here I am, like over 10 years later. I'm a teacher, I'm an actor as well, still. I write as well. So yeah, that kind of takes me. I mean, I know I jumped some years there, maybe in the New York years, but that's kind of like the essence of my life story so far. Yes.
When you first took that improv class as a teenager, you said you sort of freaked your parents out by how intensely interested you got in it. Can you tell me about that?
Sure. I mean, I guess it's like the classic, like, actually, literally, God bless my dad. Like, I think he was just afraid. I remember one night hearing my mom and dad fight, and I think it was about me. It must have been about me too. I don't know if the whole fight was about me, but I did hear one line because I kind of listened. The kitchen door was closed, and I kind of listened, and I heard my dad say to my mom, of course, this hurt me. He'll never make a living out of it, referring to me like pursuing acting or whatever. And that kind of comment kind of stayed with me for many years, even though I know deep down that my dad was kind of proud that I was pursuing this, but they were just frightened of like the realities that most artists have to face until we make it big. You know, so yeah, it was just scary for, and especially for my mom. I guess my mom would have loved because my mom didn't really have any artistic tendencies. She's an amazing woman. I think I get a lot of my empathy from her, but I think she would have liked if I chose a more practical route in my life,
Hmm.
that wasn't meant to be for me. Um,
Mhm.
but to be honest with you, like the reality is like, Tasshin, like I know it sounds very self-deprecating, but like having done a lot of day jobs in my life, like uh I'm going to call myself a retard. I'm a retard when it comes to practical like living. Some people are just like that. It's just like I've got fired from so many day jobs quite rightly because I'm just like I just have an incompetence when it comes. I'm just like I do believe I'm a born artist. I don't care how pretentious that sounds. That's how I feel. It's
Mhm.
just the way I am.
Mhm.
Sorry, mom and dad, but I think they're cool with it. I mean, yeah. Um, yeah.
When you look back on all those years and you're about to turn 45 and you started acting when you were, sounds like 17, 18, 19,
Like I think it was 19. Yeah,
19.
yeah.
Um, how have you seen yourself change as a person from all of these practices?
That's such a fucking brilliant question because like I think about this a lot because I didn't mention this in my like little bio introduction ramble thing that like for 4 years between 2020 and 2024, I taught, uh, and it was a privilege, like as a part-time professor at SUNY Purchase College, which has a really great acting program. They're upstate in New York. And what struck me about that in relation to your question was like what I found so moving and powerful about my time there, and the kids loved my class, was like seeing like 19-year-olds, right? Because I was teaching the sophomores, seeing 19-year-olds, which ironically is the year that I started doing it, with this kind of like passion and kind of like wide-eyed innocence towards the entertainment industry, towards acting, performing, whatever. And like what kind of hit me was like how important it is to kind of maintain that kind of innocence and to not get jaded or cynical about it. You know what I mean? And like I've definitely had phases in my life, to answer your question, in my 20s and 30s where like I have got jaded and I have got cynical, I have got kind of bitter, or I have got like, why haven't the walls of Jericho, whatever the expression is, opened up for me? Like, why aren't I a multi-millionaire famous dude? So I've gone through those kind of phases, but like how like like it's funny as well because clowning, and we'll talk more about clowning specifically, I guess, but like clowning is all about that innocence and maintaining the wide-eyed childlike sense of play, which can help too, teaching it and I guess being it as a human. Um, but yeah, like so it's funny. With your question, like, have I, in some ways, maybe I've changed, in some ways I haven't. Maybe I've changed in the sense that like maybe I've become a bit more comfortable. Yeah, let me put it that way. Become a bit more comfortable being myself 100%. Like obviously when you act you play a character, but I think we always bring elements of ourselves to what we do, right? So I I believe that a lot of jobs I've got or a lot of love I've got from people in the industry is because of my own personality, and like becoming more comfortable sharing that with the world. I guess as you get older, maybe you stop hiding, or you stop being false. Hopefully, I'd like to think that I've improved in that area.
Mm.
Yeah,
And how would you characterize who you are, the authentic Ed, your personality, what being really you is like?
that's it. Wow. I would say generally fun-loving guy. I mean, I still can be quite intense. I would say, yeah, complex. It's funny. Maybe I got this from my dad, but like the best man at my wedding, I'm a divorced person, by the way. Maybe we can talk about that. But at the wedding, my best man, like my dad is dead, God rest his soul, and I know that he would have got a kick out of this because it was so honest. But it like silenced the room. I think it freaked people out in the room. But the best man at my wedding said about my dad, he was complicated and mysterious. And I didn't take that as like an insult at all, but like some people were like, what the fuck does that mean? And I kind of relate to that. But I think we all have complexities and mysteries to us. Um, but yeah, I think there's an element of that in me too. And like, uh, yeah, I can have my moments of, well, okay. I think what I've learned as well, I guess I'm going back to the first question and I'm putting into this question as well, like the darkness that is in me, what's beautiful about being a performer, if there is darkness in me, I think that I can, I've learned how to channel that darkness into performance rather than carry it so much in everyday life right now, which is obviously beneficial, so that I'm not like depressed or angry or upset with the
Mm.
world and myself,
Mhm.
you know. Yeah, I don't know if that answers the question somewhat. Hopefully,
Incredibly. It's
yeah.
beautiful. Um, and unfortunately, I'm going to ask you a much more boring question now, but it'll be in service of more interesting questions later.
Totally.
Um, you mentioned acting and improv and clowning, and I'm wondering how you would define these things or name the distinctions between them.
Oh wow, yeah. Well, I guess the distinctions like I would say with clowning, like clowning is fundamentally like for the most part like a direct like the performer has a direct relationship with the audience. I guess you could say in a way similar to stand up, but in a way it's completely different. Um like a clown for me, and I'm saying, obviously I love people who break the rules and I don't believe in rules, but if I was to say a general rule about clowning, um you're constantly looking for approval from the audience the way a child looks for approval from their mom or dad. uh like, so I do something that I think is funny and I check in with Tasha, did you laugh, did you find it, like like, whereas with acting, there's this fourth wall thing, especially on stage, where you don't really pay attention to the audience. I mean, in some shows that's different and the world is changing, whatever, there's a lot of people breaking the fourth wall, but in the traditional play, you're just, me and Tasha are having a conversation and are acting like the audience isn't there. And I guess obviously for the most part that's the case in film too, but on improv, there's an interesting like slight distinction between improv and clowning, in that, like, again, I find with a lot of improv they can tend to ignore the audience as well. They can do an improvised like scene but not really directly connect with the audience. But again, these things kind of meld in together, and it's not a hard and fast rule, but that would be like a general answer to that um, question. But I think there's so many similarities in all these things, because at the end of the day, right, um, Philippe Gaulier, the guy I trained with, had this beautiful expression where he wanted to challenge the psychological approaches to performance. But I think ultimately he was saying the same thing in his own way. And this beautiful expression is, acting is I think he said theater, but he's referring to acting and performance, whatever. Theater is about the pleasure of telling lies, which is hilarious, really, because it's anathema to this obsession. Like, so many acting trainings are obsessed with the truth, the truth, the truth. You got to be truthful, which I totally get, and I think that's true, But like, when Philippe says it's about the pleasure of telling lies, he's ultimately saying the same things, because it's about pretending. It's about making a lie believable. Because ultimately, we are telling a lie. If I'm performing for you right now, it's not really happening. I'm making it up, unless it's a fucking documentary. So, like, and even then, perhaps there's some fictional elements. So, like, it's about making the audience believe in what you're doing, I guess, or believe in the make believe of, and that goes for improv, acting, and clown. you
Hmm.
know. So yeah,
What were his classes like? What kinds of things would he do? What happens
very off
there?
the cuff. He was he's legendary for being quite a mean teacher, but that was always done with love. Um, I can give you an example, that hilarious incident with me. I love it. I was dancing on stage and he stopped the music and he said, Ed, you move like a dyslexic. And then he looked at all the women in the class and he said, when you see Ed move like this, hands up if you want to fuck him. And what's hilarious about that, of course, all the women, like, because it was he created a very honest environment where, like, the students were brutally honest with each other, just like he was, which was, I think, very healthy in a way, because there was a lot of love there. Um, all the women had their hands down, but I was kind of dating a Spanish girl at the time, and she slowly raised her hand out of loyalty. It was really cute. It's a really cute moment. But anyway, no, so like, so he created this really like tough love thing, but like after the class, like once the class was over, like he was playing a character. He was playing a character. It's like a classic clown relationship. I mean, you could see it in Laurel and Hardy, right? Where like Hardy's a bit meaner to Laurel, like it's like a clown dynamic where one clown is the mean asshole and the other guy's more innocent. So he would play the mean guy to provoke you, to try to make you funnier or more beautiful or whatever, or more engaging if you were bombing, if you were flopping on stage. Um, so his exercises would go all over the place. He would do like basic stuff like come out and make us love you. That would be a prompt. The kind of stuff that I do in my class these days, like, and he would teach different like sections, like uh specific workshops. Like uh there's a famous thing called the neutral mask, which was created by a Parisian guy called Jacques Copa, uh, which is a literal neutral mask. Um, but you can do it without a mask too. The idea behind the neutral mask is a fundamental thing for any performer to understand this. Um, this famous Frenchman, Jacques Copa, created this neutral mask because he was really annoyed by so many actors who were like grimacing for no reason on stage. Like, why are you making these horrible grimaces to kind of emphasize what you're saying? Like, it's so horrible and like it's not very subtle. So the point of the neutral mask is like once you put on a neutral mask, like it frees up your body and you can't rely on your facial expressions. And like it's very funny actually because it makes you become aware of like your physical habits and how they can work for you or against you. So that was one of the fundamental courses, and then obviously you teach a class devoted to clown and other um, types of clowning, like bouffon, which is like a grotesque type of clowning. Um, and he even taught like Shakespeare and Chekhov and stuff like that too, like traditional acting stuff. But like, um, but fundamentally, with each workshop, he was kind of saying the same things. Like he emphasized every performer should be like light, have a lightness to them, even when they're playing heavy characters, which I think is so beautiful. And that you should play. You should just play. You should always just play and like not take it so seriously that you become heavy and boring. He just hated people who were boring, and he kind of destroyed you if you were boring, um, which is really again amazing. I think to be made aware of being boring is a beautiful thing. It's like freeing because basically, to be honest, like every day, I would say most days, myself and all the other students would suck in the class. But what's interesting is like when we left the class, we wouldn't feel bad about it. We'd feel free. And that's what he would say. Like, I'm teaching freedom. And like, he made the real world so much easier because he was so hard as a teacher. The real world was like, oh, I can do this. Because the real world wasn't as brutally tough, to be honest, which is kind of a weird thing to say because obviously it's hard to get a job or whatever as an actor or a performer, whatever, but like, or it can be, but you feel like you can just be fearless and do whatever the fuck you want, as an artist. And I'll be forever grateful to him for that. Um, but yeah, just a wonderful, wonderful, provocative teacher who really showed you the importance of being beautiful. And I know might sound very abstract, and I know I'm not maybe like going into the specifics of his performance techniques, but he was very anti-technique. He just wanted you to play like you did as a child and to actually show yourself. He would always say, show your soul to the audience. Um, and he would say that's such an easy thing to do, but I guess it wasn't for everybody. But yeah, it was. I mean, a lot of people would cry and stuff like that in the school, and like, which again I thought was okay, but it was never. So I want to be really clear, like it was always like done with a lightness from him. He wasn't like a nasty bully. Like he loved the students, but he just had to be. And he did it with such humor. Like I just shared the dyslexic thing about me, but he did it with such like we would all laugh, and the person that he was making fun of would laugh too, and that's so beautiful to me. I like because a clown, I think, is also about being comfortable with your shame, like sharing your shame with the audience. Um, which, like I said before we actually started recording, like I'm not afraid to do. I'll tell someone my life story and all the ridiculous things that happened, and that's okay. And I think the proof in the pudding from my personal life, just to get onto that, um, when my ex-wife told me that she, quote, no longer finds me attractive and is in love with someone else and wants me to leave the apartment. Boom, 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 triple whammy. This happened like 2.5 years ago. It was wild how I responded because I didn't get angry. I just opened my heart And I just said, okay. I mean, if it was performed, that scene, I think people would fucking laugh because I just opened my heart to the rejection and accepted it like a child, basically. Um, the only question I asked her was, "Are you sure?" And she said, "Yes, I've been thinking about it for a while, and I've been kind of seeing the sky for a while." It's like, okay, fair enough, you know. Um, uh, but Yeah. So and I'm just to say though, obviously I'm not a saint. I have my moments where I do lose my shit, and I do. But I just thought I'd give that example of like a moment in my life where I feel like, in a way, the clowning helped me in a kind of you know, not to commit a crime. That's a joke. I was never going to murder her, but you know what I mean. Like one could react aggressively to that information, which would be a totally human reaction. But yeah, there you go. Um,
Hmm. I'm just going to sit with that for a minute. There was a lot there.
sure.
Yeah, I really loved the story about you dancing and the story just now about your ex-wife. And I feel grateful for those stories. Um, I wonder how you would characterize your own teaching style in relation to your mentors, and in what ways are they similar and what ways are they different?
Great question. I think the similarities are certainly. I think he was a genius at um, being in the moment. He might have a loose plan, but he would throw it out the window based on what's happening in the room. And I've definitely tried to do that as a teacher for as long as I've taught, since 2015. Where like, I mean, each to their own, man. But I think with performance stuff, especially, it's okay to be prepared, but you need to adjust and trust your intuition with each individual student. Like, what's right for Tasshin is not right for Elle. Like finding, because Philippe would always say, all I'm doing, I mean, it's up to you. It all comes from you, but all I'm doing is suggesting that maybe it's a good idea for you to play in this direction because of how the audience is responding. So if I say to Tasshin, it's good for you to shout your head off loudly because people laugh at that, but it might not work for Elle. It's better for Elle to be gentle vocally. I'm just giving, like everyone has their own way of playing. And he would always say, that's why so many great, and he's right about this. This is an ego thing from so many great, unique individuals who can't be compared as being similar have come out of his school and done original great work because Roberto Benigni, Life is Beautiful, Emma Thompson, great actors, like they all have their own mysterious, beautiful, unique way of playing, and it's not the same you know cookie cutter mentality. And I don't want to be critical of any other types of training, but that might exist in other places where you're trying to like make them all the kind of the same style or whatever. Like, but you have your own style. Tasshin has his style, Ed has his style, and he really encouraged that. And I try to, as best I can, with my teaching, bring that out in students of like, have you ever thought about? I mean, I wouldn't like stop the class and say intellectually, have you ever thought about playing like this? I would literally get them to do something. Like I believe I'm a very spiritual person, and I believe I'm getting downloads coming through me. And sometimes, even though Philippe is still in his physical body, I feel like I'm channeling him as well. Like, so to answer your question, I have used some of his exercises and have adapted them and in my own way, and I've been inspired by them to make my own stuff. But that sense of anarchy in the room, um, that almost is structureless to a large extent, is there, where it's like, hey man, it's up to you, the performer, to be the disciplined one. Because some people have criticized my class saying, oh, it lacks discipline, or you should be more disciplined, or you should make them be more technical. But like, I don't find that interesting. I feel like I think it's more interesting to give the artist all the responsibility. this is just, you know, a template. If you connect with it, great. If you don't, that's okay. But I'm giving you loose things to play with. They might speak to you, they might not. But like, I'm just trying to like open doors so people can like see if they want to enter through, you know? I'm not offering like prescriptions. Um, and that's really important. Uh, because it would hurt me if there was ever a situation where somebody in my class became really, well, I would love them. I would love all my students to be very successful, but it would hurt me if people were like, oh, I can see that he trained with Ed. I can see that she trained with Ed. I want that to be invisible, you know? I want that to be like, oh, they just did it all themselves. And I think that's something I have in common, I feel like, with Philippe too, even though there are certain principles like being light on your feet and a fixed point. A fixed point is basically when you have this moment of stillness on stage and you just stare at a fixed point, be it another person or be it the audience. It's just a powerful stillness technique. But that's the only technical thing that I would teach. Um, so that sense of freedom, I want people to be free. So like, uh, where I maybe differ from Philippe, I would say, um, that's just a taste thing. I think there are certain things that I enjoy watching that he wouldn't, and maybe vice versa. Uh, Regarding content, and certainly in the last, I would say, couple of years, I've mellowed a lot. So I give people more time to fail, to explore, which I didn't do for quite some time because I felt that people can learn a lot from being kicked off the stage after 20 seconds, which happened to me a lot. And I didn't mind it. But I guess the reason why I've mellowed with that approach is because at the end of the day, I only teach a class once a week. So it's hard for people to feel that, you know, and then they have to wait another week if they want to come back at all. So I I definitely give people more time than he would to explore, as he would say, swim in the shit. But one of my favorite quotes from his is beautiful things begin in the land of the bad. I think every performer should have room to be bad. I think that's where we really learn to not feel pressure to be good. Um, so I try to give people a lot of room to fail and see what they can discover from that. Because I do believe that that quote from him is correct because I've actually seen it with my own eyes where someone will begin something that's like, whoa, this is hard to watch. And then suddenly it becomes a thing that's funny. Because in clown, it's not so much about the great content, it's about you being an idiot. So we like watching a clown who believes their show is genius, even though it's about nothing. It's about like taking a poo poo. But the clown believes this is high art. This is how stupid the clown is. But this is wonderful for the audience because the audience will laugh at your enthusiasm for your stupid routine. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
This is beautiful. This is what separates clown from, you know, quote unquote great writing. You
Mhm.
don't need to be a great writer to be a clown. That's what I'm trying to say.
Mhm.
Yeah.
As far as the differences, uh, I've only been to one of your classes, but
Right.
uh, you struck me as having a different approach than what I hear you describing from your mentor, where like you seemed kinder and sweeter, even if you still cared about authenticity and honesty and like whatever
Sure.
your mentor cared about.
Sure.
Would you
Absolutely.
agree with that characterization?
Absolutely. Well. What I'll say to that is that that has certainly been um, adjusted over the last 10 years. In that, and it's really interesting, Tashin, because um, different people react differently to that. You know, because like so to speak to your point, like I made a kind of a conscious decision to kind of mellow. Because if you had met me even at the beginning of this year, because I feel like I am kind of winding down the class. I don't intend to teach for much longer. We'll see how it goes. But even at the beginning of this year, and certainly in my early years, I was a lot nastier. But again, 99% of the students knew that it was a game, knew that I was playing a character, and I was trying to help them. However, just like with Philippe, some people did take it personally. Some people didn't find enter the game, so to speak, and some people didn't like me making nasty comments about their performance. Um, Even though I always encourage people to be nasty back to me because it is a game, like I said. But like, so um, yeah, to your point, like there's definitely been periods over the years where I've been, and some people tell me they miss that. Quite frankly, some people want that back. Like some people will say, "Oh, I wish you were like that again." Because I've lost students in both ways. I've lost students to think I'm too nasty. I've lost students who think I've gone too soft now. So you can't win with in certain ways. But um, everyone responds differently. Some people like the tough love. Some people don't like it at all. And both responses are valid. But yeah, if you saw me in the early days, you would have had a different experience.
I
But
see.
but at the same time, I appreciate what you said because like it's not like I'm lying to anyone by being soft. Like I'm still trying to be authentic in my feedback. But
That
I
came across, and um, I described it to a friend the other day. I've been really impacted by the class and by talking to Ellen. I described it to a friend as um, there was this sense of psychological safety and care for the person and love for them while also being really honest and being like, I think you can do more here. And there's something else that wants to come out and really good, critical, growthy feedback. And it felt like a really nice balance for me. I think that's exactly the balance that I psychologically really thrive in, where it's like I'm
right.
safe and I'm loved and someone will be honest with me and help me to grow. And for me, it was the perfect
Oh,
in fact, I just wouldn't have gone to your mentor's class, no matter how great he was. I would just be like, no, that's just not for me. I don't
and I
need that,
respect that. Yeah, and I
you know?
appreciate you saying that. Yeah, yeah. No, I get that. I totally understand that. Well, I'm glad that you had that experience with me because it's funny because really like obviously this is going back to one of your earlier questions. I think as well as you get older, maybe you develop a kind of internal trust with yourself and what you're doing regarding performing or teaching. And because I never really know what's going on because I'm not a mind reader, what's going on in a student's head when I'm giving thoughts, feedback on what they're doing. So I appreciate you saying that,
Hmm.
because I have a tendency, and like, maybe there's some Irish Catholic bullshit, uh, uh, of being like a people pleaser too much. I've noticed lately with the class as I'm winding it down, which because I remember like a couple of weeks ago, I'm like literally coaching a student on stage, and I get a text message from someone else in the room saying, "Hey, there's only so much time for all of us to play," and I'm like, Jesus Christ, dude, I'm working with this person. Give me but like it's a 3 hour. Just to say to your listeners, it's a 3 hour once a week class, so like there's only so much you can do. And I have done like longer weekend workshops occasionally and blah blah blah, but like and for a while I flirted with the idea of like trying to set up a more full-timey type school, but like the reality is I don't really want to do that because of other interests, quite frankly. But like, yeah, anyway,
Mm.
you can only do so much in 3 hours. That's what I'm trying to say. But yeah, it's any feedback is helpful. But on the feedback thing, like in fairness to me, I do think I've tried to listen to people. If someone says to me, I want to keep coming to your class, but I don't like your mean shit. Could you chill with that? I'm like, okay, I'll chill with that with you. Or vice versa. If someone wants me to be tough on them specifically, I'll do that as well. So, I'm very approachable that way. I
Hmm.
always listen to constructive feedback or thoughts because I've had to deal with some of that over the years for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's even more what I felt that like regardless of what my personal preference was and whether you hit it, that there was a sense of attunement and that you would be willing to adjust to what I needed or asked for or something. And paradoxically, that meant so I didn't really need to ask for an adjustment or something. I was like, great, I'm safe here because if I did need something, I could ask for it. But then I didn't need anything. I was like,
Right,
no, I'm great. I'm in, you know.
right, right.
Um,
Totally.
what,
Cool.
what, how would you describe what kinds of students come to your class?
That's such a great question. Well, I've been honored that I love that it's been so eclectic. Um, some people, actors, I've had some famous people come down through the years. I've had people with no experience who just want to try out a clowning class for fun. Stand-up comedians was a big section of the class several years ago. Um, this year, there's been a lot of people who are really into clown, so to speak. Um, so I've got people from all walks of life, and it's interesting that like often the people with no, I feel like clown is a great leveler. Like people with no experience can be amazing, which is really cool. Like because you don't really have to worry about certain technical things, regarding like learning a script or something like you have to do with an acting class or whatever. Like you know, so yeah, the people, it's just been a wide variety of different, and I love it when people from different cultures come, or where people, um, what I loved about my training was I trained with people from all over the world, and I loved it in the classes when um, people would speak in their own native tongues. So I would get people to do that in my class too, because the beautiful thing I feel like if someone is really connected, I don't need to understand what you're saying. I'll feel it. Um, and obviously in clown you do a lot of physical stuff, but like, or you can do, but even speaking, you just kind of feel the energy, you know. And I love that. Like I love that. Uh, so yeah, it's been a really a mixed people of all ages. Very rarely do kids come, but if kids do come, I'm like, okay, we'll make the class PG tonight because the class can be quite I don't vulgar. I try to emphasize being innocent when you're vulgar sometimes, but you know I did have a 10-year-old boy come a couple of months ago who was like the son of one of the students, and it was great. We all adapted, and he was actually hilarious, and we learned a lot from him because obviously you learn from the kids because that's what clowning is about, really, being a child. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Hmm.
it's a great
Can you say
mix.
more
Great
about
mix.
this being an idiot or being like a child and what that means in clown?
Sure. So like, it's not like, in my opinion, it's not like, and I want to say this as well. Like, there's lots of great clown teachers in New York and in the world, in California as well, actually, and in all over the world. But like, and everybody has their own philosophy. Um, my personal thing is, I don't think anything should be set in stone with like labels or whatever. Because a lot of people will talk about like finding your clown, and like once you found your clown, that's it. My attitude towards that is like, sure, you can find the clown, but you can change that clown next week if you feel like it. It's all fluid. But with clowning, I would say regarding the finding your clown thing or finding your idiot thing, it's like if the audience are laughing, you don't really want to change, right? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So if they love you being a certain kind of idiot, it's probably a good idea to keep doing what you're doing. But how to uncover that idiot, um, everyone has their own way of getting there. For me, being vulnerable is the key to being an idiot, um, and being willing to be vulnerable on stage in front of people, being willing to open up, being willing to be laughed at, because that could be tough for people's egos. I'm laughing at you. I'm not laughing with you. I'm laughing at you because you're a fucking idiot. Like, and but if you're comfortable with that, then you really, I think, you can call yourself a clown. Because I don't think clown is about being cool or being, the hot guy or hot girl. Like I always say to people when they take their shirts off in my class, and if they like guys, like if you've got a hot body, do not take your fucking shirt off in my class. Even though it might be very beautiful to look at, it's just not clown. Uh, Clowns don't have hot bodies, ideally. I mean, it's not your fault if you have a hot body, but say leave your shirt on. If you want to take your shirt off, have a either a bit of a pot belly or like have a fucking hole in your chest, like I do. You know what I mean? Like, it has to have something unique or like freakish, you know. Um, but like getting at the idiot. So like, I'm just trying to go back to your question. Like, so like, yeah, vulnerability is the key, but like, being comfortable to kind of like open your heart to the audience and like also living, I would say, living in the not knowing. Philippe once said this beautiful thing: the difference between a stand-up comedian and a clown is a stand-up can control the laugh. A clown has no idea when the laugh is going to come, which I think is so powerful. And it can be scary. If you're out on stage and you do your routine and nobody laughs, the really great clown will open their heart, and then 10 seconds later the audience will laugh because they'll laugh at you being surprised that you didn't get a laugh, if you know what I mean. But a lot of people, when they don't get a laugh, will shut down, which obviously isn't good, right? You don't want to like shut down when you bomb, when you flop. uh you want to open your heart and accept what happens. It's all part of the act, you know. Like I'm not afraid if they don't laugh at me. I'll just accept it. I won't get angry with them, you know. I'll just be like, okay, maybe you're deaf, or maybe you're from a different part of the world. Maybe you've got a different sense of humor in Santa Fe than they do in Ireland. I'll adjust for you. Like, you know, it's all about yeah, being comfortable with, well, being an idiot as well as being comfortable with failure, you know, being comfortable with the failure. Um, yeah, and that takes time, you know. When you see it happen, it's the most beautiful thing in the world. Like I've seen it so many times in my class. I can give examples. Like one that comes to my mind is like a really talented friend of mine who came to my class once. He did this routine and it was like very well prepared and it was pretty well executed, but nobody laughed. And then he just did this, you know. Oh fuck. And the whole room erupted in laughter because it was almost like he dropped the mask of his little act and he showed himself, you know, and everyone just laughed. That's him in his private moments, you know. It's like, oh Jesus, like, you know, it's like, wow. When you can get to that state consistently, then you're an idiot, you know. Then you're like a beautiful idiot, to use that expression.
Hmm.
Yeah.
What is the relationship with laughter and humor and clowning?
What is the relationship between laughter and humor
It
in
seems like the
clown?
point isn't to make people laugh, and yet laughter and humor does play a big role in it. How would you describe that?
It's a great question. Like, yeah, wow. Well, I would say, like, you know, and please tell me if I'm. I know there's no wrong or right, but if I'm going off track with this answer, you can
Oh, I'll
interrupt me.
listen
But
to you
like,
for so long. You're doing great.
great. Um, the relationship between laughter and humor. So, like, the thing is with the clown, like, um, I do believe the clown enters with the belief that she or he or they are going to make the audience laugh, and that's a, you know, a big kind of like goal. Like when I created my little ridiculous routine in my bedroom, that really is probably objectively terrible. I believe in my heart that I'm going to make them laugh. Like through my fantasy and my imagination, I can see it happening, and like it's like that thing of like visualization where like I visualize myself making them laugh and I believe it will come true. And then sometimes it doesn't come true. And then I feel, oh, I'm going to shit my pants, but maybe they'll laugh if I just stay open and vulnerable. So like, um, I feel like historically or whatever, it's just the so see the interesting thing is, well, I love how your question is opening up me going on these tangents. As you know, because you took my class, like I don't work with the red nose. So a lot of clown teachers emphasize the importance of the red nose. people in society know about the red nose, whereas circus clown or a theater clown, I mean, a lot of people wear the red nose. And the red nose is famously described as the smallest mask in the world. And like, I should know as a fucking clown professor the origins of the red nose, but off the top of my head, I really can't tell you. But like, there's an association with the red nose of like, oh, that's going to make people laugh. I'm an idiot. I put on the red nose. I'm like, like it's making me vulnerable, or it does something to my eyes. It makes them softer. It makes me look more like a 7-year old or an 8-year old, which is kind of the goal. Um, there's often this assumption that you're supposed to laugh at a clown, right? That I'm supposed to make you laugh. I'm a clown, which is very interesting, and it's kind of it can it's scary for people. It can turn people off clown in many ways. It's like that pressure to make someone laugh. Um, but the way I teach, like being beautiful is as important. Like like just and when I use the word beautiful, that can be very abstract. But like if you're beautiful on stage, we can see it. Like, oh, this person is beautiful. This person is doing something beautiful. And often beauty and humor go hand in hand or in tandem. I think, in my opinion, if someone is being their beautiful, authentic self, there's a possibility that they're funny too. Uh, but just traditionally, like of course, there's moments when there's like sad clowns. You know, a clown does something that is so poignant and beautiful, it moves you, and it can be very sad. But it's just historically, obviously, the clown has been given a contract usually to make the audience laugh, and that's just the way it is. Uh, he or she may have began their life as a dramatic actor, but they're so bad at being dramatic actors that people just laugh at them. So I feel like a lot of people stumble into the clown world. Like that happened with my teacher Philippe. He wanted to be a dramatic actor, and he just was cracking people up when he trained under Lecoq. So he ended up being a clown. Um, it's with me personally. I've always been told I was a clown even before I trained this one. It's just like, oh wow, that guy's a fucking idiot. There's like an innocence um, to it. Um, but with humor and laughter, I think the humor and laughter also comes from like, yeah, showcasing that innocence for an audience, that kind of wide-eyed naivete, and that kind of sense of not really knowing, like living in the unknown, like I said earlier, that not knowing. I don't know if that really answers your question. I'm kind of
It does
rambling here.
definitely.
Oh,
Yeah.
good. Um,
Coming back to
yeah.
your students, how would you say you've watched clowning impact your students? How has it caused them to change? What do you see in them?
Well, it's beautiful when you hear like I'm all for the practical feedback, like because I always say in my class to people who are kind of quote unquote serious about it, like guys, go to an open mic, go do shows, let me know how it goes. Please text me, I'll respond. I'd love to know how this worked out. And like often I would say to people, like I would put my money where my mouth is, where I would say, if you do this in the real world, I'll guarantee you it will get a big laugh and people will love it. And often I've been right, maybe once or twice I'm not right, that's fine. But like so I love it when people tell me they're trying things that they've discovered in class in the real world and that it's working. And I've heard that from a lot of people, or even like not even like something that happened in a class, but something that happened in the class and inspired them to do something else because of the class. That's great. I love those stories. And but what's equally as moving is when people say to me that it's having a profound effect on their everyday personal lives, that it's making them more open and vulnerable in life and okay with that. And like it's like they're growing as humans because of um, clowning, which certainly happened to me. So I think that's really, really, really beautiful if it can help you in like your day job or your relationships or getting through tough situations. Like that really touches my heart when I hear the feedback like that. And I do see the growth even when people don't see the growth themselves. Sometimes I do see the growth in the class, certain people. I mean, to bring up our friend L, like I've seen an amazing transformation in L specifically
Same.
since. I guess early 2025 to now. And it's really beautiful to see. And it's beautiful to see, like, obviously you have to take the initiative yourself. And I feel like Elle has done that, where like they've gone to shows and open mics and they've, you know, created things themselves. Because that's what it's all about. And that's what I love about it is like it's about creating your own work. Like I said, you're not relying on anyone else. You're like not relying on anyone to write it or create it for you. You're doing it yourself, and you see the joys of that and the impact, and you get the the fruits of that when people respond. It's great, and also when people tell me they've become more comfortable with, like, if something doesn't get a laugh, if something doesn't go well, how to adjust in those situations. Yeah, it's really, really a beautiful thing. It's great to hear that. Yeah.
It seems like there's, oh yeah, please.
Oh, sorry, just coughing. Excuse me.
I see. Okay. It seems like there's a lot of people who go to your classes because they're actors or they do stand-up comedy or they want to get better at their art and their creative passion. And then, for me, when I went to your class, like I'm an artist in a lot of ways, but I'm not a comedian. I'm not an actor necessarily. And I
Right.
just knew that it would be psychologically transformative for me. I was much more interested in these kinds of everyday changes. And um, I wonder if you could say more about that kind of change, how you see it impacting people who do this practice, or what kinds of stories you hear about how it impacts their everyday life, or what kinds of openings you see for them.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. Like, go, I have had, like, it's interesting what you're saying about the psychological stuff, because I have had therapists and analysts and stuff like that come to the class, and it's great to hear that they get a lot out of it too. Um, but yeah, like with how it affects them it's it's funny because like I said, and like I said, I'm very off the cuff, and I trust. Obviously, sometimes I get things wrong. I'm human. What comes out of my mouth is very kind of spontaneous most of the time. So I don't think necessarily, oh wow, I'm saying something really profound, but maybe like profound, helpful things are like coming through me that I'm not aware of, right? So like I might not, I'm probably not aware of if I'm helping someone um, psychologically, unless they tell me, unless they vocalize it that it was very helpful to do that. Um, but uh, yeah, I'm probably kind of repeating myself here, but I guess it's when I hear the stories of like people just being like okay. Now I don't know if anybody has has given me such an example like that I gave you with my ex-wife, but like when intense situations are happening like that in people's lives, when they express that like they were able to navigate it or like move through it without freaking out or finding the humor in it, um that really touches my heart, because that like when some intense psychological stuff is happening, or if people say to me, I came to your class in a really shitty fucking mood, because something was going on that maybe was none of my business and I didn't even ask, and then they left feeling better. And you know what? The funny thing about that is that's gone both ways. I'm glad I'm bringing that up. Where like sometimes they leave feeling better after I've been a bit nasty to them, or sometimes someone comes to the class, and I've actually said this to some people that maybe it's better if you stay away, and I never usually say that, but like people who are like too vulnerable because of something that's going on in their lives, and then I say something that triggers it more, which can have a negative impact. Obviously, that's not cool, and I kind of regret that. I love how I'm going completely in a different direction with your question. That's cool, I think, but it's great. We're like, I've seen that happen too, like on a kind of a quote unquote negative note, where like, oh no, like that person has brought a certain energy into the room, and the last thing they wanted to hear was like Ed Malone taking the piss out of them, and that's kind of like made them feel more like shit. And then, but I would always offer a hand or a word on the phone after the class, and some people would take me up on that, or some people would like say, "Fuck off, I don't want to speak to you again." I've had both of those reactions. I've had moments where people have got on the phone with me for an hour or 2 hours after a class to express how they feel about what they're going through in their personal lives and how the class kind of affected them either positively or negatively, and they wanted to talk through things with me. Um, so, like, I've definitely lent myself to being like an amateur therapist for some people at times. And clown has often been described as that, as like a kind of a form of therapy, because it can be a very vulnerable thing. Like, as you're basically being told to drop all the masks. I think like any good actor or artist does, to be honest, anyway. But like, and just like really show yourself to an audience, and obviously you need to feel safe doing that, and it needs to be a safe environment. And if somebody doesn't feel safe in my class, that's obviously on me, and I would adjust as best I can in any way I can. Um, but I think for the most part, I've succeeded on that level. Um, but yeah, like I know that I might not have like got into specific psychological things regarding people, but I have had moments, yeah, where people have been going through some stuff, yet they've still come to my class, and it's been either transformative or just a bit too much sometimes. That's just the way it goes, right? I mean,
Mhm.
you know, yeah. Um,
When I think about, I've been friends with Elle for just 2 years now, but we've spent a lot of time together, and I've really watched her open up. When I first met her, she was um, very introverted and very shy and very kind of
mhm.
closed down, and
Right.
was having a difficult time emotionally. And I've just watched her open up so much, and there's so many gifts that she has, and she really brings those to every moment and every interaction she has now. And
Wow,
um,
that's amazing to hear. Because
mhm,
that's it. Like every moment is important. Yeah,
mhm.
moments. That's
When
another clown thing as well. Is like if you, like treating moments like that as really special. Like the clown will like, Philippe would say, notice seven. I don't know what was the reasoning behind the number seven, but he would say, notice seven beautiful things that's like about the world every morning. Like notice
mm,
seven beautiful. Um, but that kind of like innocence of like the clown seeing everything and everybody as special, like that wide-eyed wonder, so you don't get cynical or you don't get complacent or you don't take anything for granted. Like you're like, whoa, this conversation is special, Tasshin's special, like the fucking apartment I'm living in is like just that innocence towards the smallest minutia, like because that adds to material and makes things funny and beautiful too, like that you know clowns building material around the most basic mundane things,
mhm.
seemingly mundane. Yeah, appreciating the beauty of of life is just a big part of clown. Yeah.
When you see someone have that kind of transformation, how do you make sense of what's happening for them through clowning? Like, what is that doing to them such that they do have that kind of change? How do you think about that?
Well, whatever's like they're being freed up. Um, and if I was to relate it specifically to the kind of exercises that happen in the class, as a like I don't always do warm ups, but like a lot of the warm ups are just children's games where it's like, okay, we're gonna play musical chairs, right? And if the person who doesn't get a chair has to save their life by singing a song to everybody in the room. And that's a vulnerable thing, even though we all sing. I mean, some people sing professionally, but I think people love to sing. People who can't sing, people sing in the shower, like just having that moment of like, okay, I know I have to sing, and like it's a child's game, like, or like musical chairs. You don't have the chair. What are you gonna do? Do something funny with do something stupid with your body. Do a stupid dance. It's like it's getting to um the root cause, so to speak. Like not so much the root cause is the wrong word, but like getting at the roots of everything. We're like uh, these basic childlike exercises that have been beaten out of you, or like the ability to do them without any kind of like shame or embarrassment has perhaps been beaten out of you by adult life, where you're like all sophisticated and proper and intellectual, whatever. And I'm going back to the core. Just want you to be fucking. I just want you to be silly. I just want you to play and be silly. Sing a song, do a poem, do a lullaby, pretend to be a Boy Scout. You know, these kind of things are not like intellectual things. I mean, it's hilarious when people approach these exercises intellectually, and then I really make fun of them. Like, oh, I'm thinking, how would I be a Boy Scout? Like, how would I sing a song? Like, don't think. It goes back to the improv thing of don't think. So like the less you think, the more you possibly play and the freer you become. Therefore, you become uninhibited, maybe in real life as well as on stage. And anything goes, and you kind of the censorship dies because you're playing again the way you did as a child. You're moving your body in a free, non-technical way. You're not thinking about anything. You're just in your essence. And that's what I think it is. It's in your essence when you're just playing and you're just being free and you're not worried about doing something right or wrong. You're just being free. I think that's why we see the results of people being so kind of
Mm.
transformed, I guess, which
Mm.
is great.
Mm.
Because as an artist, it doesn't guarantee anything. Obviously, you know, you still might do bad work, whatever that means, or work that's not received well. But maybe the way you execute it will be different. Maybe your reaction to the response will be different. Maybe you'll be more open. Maybe you'll do that beautiful thing of like, I remember again, Philippe would say this, and it really resonated with me. The clown has this kind of attitude. Today I was bad. Tomorrow I might be bad. But the next day I will be beautiful. It's that eternal optimistic attitude towards life and art. Wow, it's actually quite moving to say that, because it's so easy to get down and like feel like I'm defeated and like another failure. But you believe that tomorrow you will be beautiful and you will be received well.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can approach life like that, I think you're like onto a winner, probably.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not having any failures, that's great. Like if you're having the success in your life, good for you. Um,
That's funny. uh, uh, you mentioned that you're considering winding down your clowning class and that there are other interests that you have. And I know you also do writing and acting. Can you talk more about what you envision for the next chapters of your life?
totally, yeah. Like I'll be honest. Like my intention has always been, uh, even though I've done a lot of theater, like my dream in my heart has always been like to be a movie star. Like, and I want to step into that dream and make it a reality. Like it's already happening. And on that note, for your listeners, I have a very tiny little role in the wonderful new Timothy Chalamet movie, Marty Supreme, the Josh Safdie movie. It's released now, released everywhere in America on December 25th, Christmas Day, but some theaters in New York have already released it, and in other parts of the world, maybe in California too. Great movie, little role in that. So yeah, I've done a lot of theater as an actor in my life, and I want to do more movies, and I'm starting to do that more kind of independent stuff as well as big ones like I just mentioned. And yeah, that's my intention, and maybe to kind of like transition more into being a film artist because I've done a lot of stage stuff. Um, so those are my plans, but I don't know. I don't have an exact time frame yet for the end of the class. Uh, just kind of playing it week by week right now. Um, and I've really enjoyed it. Like, I just feel that it wasn't my destiny to do it forever. That's how it feels. I feel like like an organic process to kind of wind it down. Right now, I've done it for over 10 years now, and it's been fantastic. And I've loved everyone who I've met. I want to say this: I love the people who hate me because they didn't like the class. I just want to say that I totally respect their response. That's the way it goes. Um, Shout out to those people. Doubt they're watching, but you never know. They might see this at some point. But yeah, no, it's been great. But yeah, I guess my only kind of regret, even though regarding the class, like there's still time for this, but you never know, it might happen. We kind of flirted with the idea. We did a couple of episodes, which you can watch on YouTube. They're called Ed Malone Freak Show, of kind of documenting the class cinematically. And I've always felt it would be hilarious, cringe at times, documentary because of stuff that happens in the class and the content and the responses that people have to the crazy shit that I say and every all the crazy shit that happens with the students. Um, there's actually a guy who might want to do that before I end, so you never know. But yeah, it's been great. I've loved how performative the class has been, and it's. But yeah, if there's people listening in New York who still want to come, there's still time to catch it. So um, catch me while you can. Yes.
Uh, I feel like you said, I'm reminded of my dad moving. Uh, like I grew up in Massachusetts, and then after my mom died, he moved to New Mexico, and I feel like you're like, oh, I'm moving to this new state, but I didn't really hear like why or what it is that your soul is calling you to about film or what you're hoping for from it or what you're excited about with it.
Oh yeah, like um, film has certainly because I've done more stage than film generally in my life. There's a bigger curiosity about being a film actor. Obviously, if you get kind of bigger roles in bigger movies, it's economically more satisfying than the theater. And I won't deny that that interests me as well. Like, you know what I mean? I think it's great making money, being in the flow of money, and like, I think we should all be abundant. That's my view on life, on that stuff, economics. But like, so that yeah, it'd be great to have more money, but also like, film as a medium because I've done so much acting on stage. I'm just more interested in exploring that, um, being on camera and even developing stuff as a writer for film, even maybe incorporating like back in the day, clown elements for film, like Chaplin, Buster Keaton, all those greats, Lauren and Hardy, like I mentioned, like why not having I think that'd be really fucking cool to be honest, whether it's me or someone else or other people like doing more clown type stuff on in cinema. Um, I think people would fucking love that actually. But yeah, just as a medium, I'm more attracted to it as I'm getting older. Yeah, and I do believe it's my destiny to be a movie star.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, and one step at a time. And also like, even though with the clown class, like I think I've been really good over 10 years at finding ways to keep it fresh. But because how can I say this? I shouldn't really say. There have been times where I've repeated myself, of course, and that's normal. Like for me, there's a part of me that feels like it's death when you. And this is not a critique of anyone else because I'm sure they do things in their own unique way to keep it fresh. But I don't really want to become that teacher who's like teaching the same thing over and over to the new student. Do you know what I mean? And that's not just like a selfish thing where like, oh, I want to keep it interesting for myself. I also think for people can pick up on that unconsciously or consciously, like, oh, he said this to 9 million people before. Like, I want to like always try to, and that becomes more challenging as the years go by because it's like, oh, maybe the well is running dry with how I can keep things fresh here. You know what I mean? Like,
I know what that sounds like. Someone sounds like a cassette tape that's playing again for the 10,000th time, and you didn't sound like that at all in your class to me.
oh, I'm glad to hear that.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, and I also wonder, like, for people who come to the class a lot, and there has been a kind of a revolving door over the years. It's kind of cool. Where like, I've had people come for 3 or 4 years consistently, then leave. People come for 3 or 4 weeks, they get what they want, they leave. And then like, but when people are coming consistently, there's a part of me that's in my head going like, yeah, similar point where like they need to hear a different voice or they need to do something like they're just hearing my voice over and over again. Like, you know what I mean? That has flashed through my head too. Yeah.
If we fast forwarded 5, 7 years and got together for another conversation like this, and your life was just going so splendidly, you're a movie star, you're making lots of money. What do you think your life would be like if it was amazing? What are you hoping for over the next years?
I love that. I love that you said what you just said. Let's manifest. Like it's manifested, baby. Um,
Uh-huh.
yeah, I do want to. I do see. That's the thing. Like, this might be in my head, but I'm gonna respond to this by saying this. And I don't get. I just want to be clear. I know we've only just recently got to know each other, and I certainly don't get this from you. But I could be wrong in how people perceive me. But at the end of the day, how people you in a way, I guess you have to take responsibility for how people perceive you because of how you present yourself to the world, right? But like sometimes I think there's this perception of me that like um Ed Malone is this kind of downtown, interesting, avant-garde clown teacher, right? And like that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that if that is a perception. But I've always like felt like I want fucking mainstream success, like I'm not afraid of that. And I'm not like against it or I don't have like beliefs around it. Like, so like, yeah, 5, 7 years from now, if we get together again, like hopefully like Ed Malone, Oscar winner, uh, movie star, doing lots of really interesting movies written by other people, maybe some written by myself, living the life, bi-coastal, chilling with Tasshin in California or wherever you are, and probably still keep a place in New York too. Interestingly, I don't think, on a personal note, I was saying this to my amazing life coach. She's a genius. Her name is Michelle Colt, Colt. She's an absolute. She's changed my life completely, kept me sane. Um, this is kind of a dramatic statement because obviously you never say never, but I do not think I'll be in a serious relationship ever again romantically, and that does not bother me at all, which is interesting too. Like it just genuinely, I know these things can change. I'm still kind of a young guy, but like I think some people are destined to not have that, and I'm not saying that I'm destined either way yet because I'm open to whatever, but that's been coming through me a lot lately of like I'm here to give my art to the world and to really focus as much as I can on that, you know.
I'm hearing echoes of what your friend told you about. I, are you an artist or an
Alcoholism.
alcoholic? Because you're not good
Wow.
enough to be both. Like, are you an artist or a romantic? Because you're not good enough to be both.
That's fucking beautiful. I love that. Yeah. I objectively failed at romance. And I was one of those guys who I would piss people off, but how romantic I was. Sorry if anyone's listening. I know I went overboard with some of my public declarations of love for you. That was really annoying. But
We've all been there. I've been there. You're a good company.
yeah, I channel all the romantic poets, but I don't know if that really translates well in 2025.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, um, what are you gonna do? Send your apologies in the post, and hopefully you're forgiven. Um, yeah, uh, but yeah, there's worse things than like declaring your love publicly. You could like declare your hatred for someone publicly, and that's probably more disgusting. But anyway, whatever.
Hmm.
Yeah, but on that note, who knows? Obviously, things can change in a heartbeat.
Mhm.
Like everything in life. But yeah,
I don't know
that's
you know well enough to declare that that's true. I just heard echoes of what your friend said. So I wish you the happiest life for whatever that looks like for you.
no, no. But I love that you went there, though. I love that. Yeah,
Mhm.
that was really interesting.
Mhm.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, we've covered a lot of ground and you very generously answered my questions. I wonder if there's anything else you'd like to say or talk about or cover.
Um, well, I think that's it. I mean, I could just like I think I already plugged the class a bit.
Hmm.
If people are in New York listening to this, Sundays I'm moving the classes Sunday afternoons because I don't want to teach at night anymore. So it's going to be Sunday afternoon for the foreseeable future, and we're moving around venues. But hey, you can get my details off Tasha. And if you're listening to this, you can text me or email me, whatever, and you can find me. Um, but anything else in like general? Yeah, it's a beautiful time to be alive, isn't it? That's the general comment, and I'm grateful. I'm really grateful for you for having me on this podcast. I looked up your podcast, and it's really cool. I love the vibes.
Mm. Thank you.
Um, for sure.
Well, I really
No,
learn a lot from each person that comes on, and clowning has already been so important. I think it's psychoactive and uh, moves a lot in the system, and I've been really grateful to take even just one class with you. I would love to take another, but we'll see if your schedule and mine
yeah.
align. But I've been grateful for even the one class and for this conversation as well. I've learned so much. So thank you for being who you are and for clowning so hard for so many years. And I wish you the best with your film career. Yeah.
Thank you, Tasshin. This is great, man. You're awesome.
Mhm.